Alright, Cherubs, right now we're looking at the Gardens of Versailles. For those of you who don't know, Versailles is a chateau about 12 miles outside of Paris that was home to, among others, the monarch Louis XIV in the late 17th and early 18th centuries. Louis XIV served as King of France for over 72 years, and during that time he became an absolute monarch, and here's how. His primary minister, the Cardinal Mazarin, died in 1661, and his chief financial minister, Nicolas Fouquet, fell out of favor after throwing a massive party, an inconceivably impressive party. Food was served on gold plates, there was a play by Molière, there were fireworks, and all this at a beautiful chateau with fantastic gardens designed by the best painters, sculptors, and garden engineers of the time. Louis perceived this as threatening his own magnificence, and instead of appointing new ministers, Louis decided to imprison Fouquet and rule France personally. Louis moved his entire government here, to Versailles. By doing this, everything went through Louis. Anyone with ambition needed to be here since all promotions went through him. He kept Versailles entertaining and expensive to ensure that no one had thoughts of rebellion nor the money to rebel. When Louis moved his government here, he also moved many of the artists Fouquet used to make his party so great, including the garden engineer Andre Le Nortre. I'm trying, but the French just isn't easy for me. Gardening is, by its nature, an experiment in control, an attempt to bend nature to the vision of the gardener. Louis, it should come as no surprise, loved gardening. He would even take the shears from time to time to add a little royal flourish to the gardens. He insisted on giving tours of the gardens personally and even wrote and updated a guide to his garden himself. And his garden was perfectly curated to be symmetrical, with crisp lines and geometric pathways. Total control, nothing out of place. To contrast, in England, with their constitutional monarchy, gardeners allowed the landscapes to speak for themselves, lacking the pathways that control both nature and the viewer's experience. In an absolute monarchy, nature was given no such freedom. It should also come as no surprise that the geometry and symbolic themes of this garden promote absolutism. Right now we're looking out from the palace, outside Louis's bedchamber, down the central axis of the garden. Notice that the line of perspective here shoots out into infinity. The surrounding town is structured in the same way so that the major avenues form straight lines to Louis's bedchamber. He is at the center, and everything revolves around him. Louis saw himself as the sun, around which all things revolve, and the geometry of the town and garden are part of that metaphor. As we move down the central axis, we reach the famous Fountain of Apollo. Apollo is the god of the sun, and he's associated with many things, including hard work, sonorous poetry, scientific truth, and structure in general. Le Notre's gardens illustrate those things, and the sun obediently follows the trajectory of the central axis, traveling through that infinitely far vanishing point. In the world of French mathematics and metaphysics, Descartes and Pascal were both struggling with the concept of infinity, and linked it unambiguously with theology and God. There are those things that are indefinite, whose end exists but cannot be discerned, like human comprehension. And then there is the infinite, that which actually has no end, God. In this way, Louis's gardens linked him with the infinite and with God. In the 17th and early 18th century, a belief in a divine right of kings to rule permeated European politics, particularly in Louis's France, evidenced by his bedchamber and the direct line of contact with infinity. A line can be drawn from infinity, God, straight to Louis's bedchamber, and Louis was France. There is one statue a bit out of place among all this hubris. The Buste de l'Encelade depicts the story of Enceladus, a giant who rebelled against Zeus and was buried beneath Mount Etna. It's a story of punished vanity within a garden of vanity. So why is this here? Probably just Louis warning the members of his court not to rebel against God, the sun, or their monarch. Louis believed he could make a lasting impact on the world by building things. To this day, plenty of people are inspired by the gardens, which begs some interesting questions. Is he justified in this? Is it ethical to heap such large sums of money on one's own vanity if the creation is admired for centuries after? What does it inspire in you? Are you awestruck or repelled by the display of power and control? Let us know in the comments section below. If you like the way we discussed artwork on this channel, please subscribe. If you have a painting you'd like to see, contact us on Facebook or Twitter.